So what are we going to be able to do this period? By the end of this period, we are going to analyze a quote and write our interpretation using supporting details. We're also going to be able to identify 2 scenes from Warriors Don't Cry and use them as text-based evidence. And lastly, we're going to be able to explain how these scenes connect to that quote. Today we're going to think about the historical context of Melba and how her situation affects her point of view and who she becomes, what kind of person she becomes. All right, so let's begin. We're going to practice analyzing quotes and finding supporting evidence. People fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. Now there's a lot going on here. There's a few sentences together, and now in order to really figure out the meaning, I need to break this down. How do I do that? How do I start analyzing? Well, I begin by breaking it down into the 3 different parts and noticing the key words that stand out. The lesson prior to this, they were looking at The Watsons Go to Birmingham, and they were looking at Warriors Don't Cry and finding common themes within both novels. So what you're going to do now is you're going to analyze a quote, and you're going to have to connect it to Warriors Don't Cry. And I'm going to show you how I take my quote and connect it to our first novel, Watsons Go to Birmingham. All right. So here is a scene from The Watsons Go to Birmingham. Dad says, well, a lot of times that's going to be the way of the world for you kids. Byron is getting old enough to understand that his time for playing is running out fast. He's just got to realize that the world does not have a lot of jokes waiting for him. So this is a 7th grade class, and the students range from a 2nd grade reading level to all the way to a 7th grade reading level. For almost all of my lessons, I do have a guided note sheet prepared for them. So those of the students who need more scaffolding, the scaffolding is built into the guided note sheets. The second text that we read, Warriors Don't Cry, was a much higher level, more difficult text for them to get through. So prior to reading the chapters, we went over unfamiliar vocabulary that they might encounter in the text. So now it's your turn. You are going to read this quote, think about it, analyze it, and discuss what it means with your partners. So the quote says, "Courage, above all things, is the first quality of a warrior," by Carl von Clausewitz. Now flip your guided note sheet over. I want you now to talk to your partners, and like I did, maybe you want to underline some parts of the quotes and talk to your partners about what you think it means.
Courage is like the basic fact of a warrior, is the first thing that comes to him.
I agree with you.
It means that a warrior has to be ready to do something. They need the trait courage in order to be one.
Courage is also being brave. So you need to be brave to be a warrior.
Why not charm? Why isn't charm the first quality? Or why not good looks? What can that help a warrior?
No, because good looks can't help a warrior. Like Melba, her good looks didn't help her survive school. Like she needed courage in order to keep going. Like after all those kids kept doing mean things to her, she had courage and stayed in school.
Excellent. I love that you brought it back to Melba. What does Melba have to do? Why is Melba the warrior?
Because she's integrating to Central High.
She has to take on integration, something that no other young African American had to do.
And the one who gave her courage was her grandmother every time.
Interesting.
She used to think about her every time she had a problem.
Interesting. Okay, Continue. So this is a 7th grade class, and the students range from a 2nd grade reading level to all the way to a 7th grade reading level. And the first time I taught this unit, I chose The Watsons Go to Birmingham, and I paired it with Days of Courage. Days of Courage was maybe a 5th grade level book, and I chose it because I thought the themes were still complex, even though the writing was at a lower level, so the kids could engage in the meaning of the text. However, because of the Common Core standards, we are trying to up the rigor, and we want to make these kids engaged, but also we want to get them to be able to read a more rigorous text and be able to understand it. So now we're going to move on to the next part of our lesson. You all thought about this quote and you interpreted it. Now you are going to follow these 3 steps. So, step 1, you're going to discuss with your partner 2 scenes. Where in the book does Melba or any other character show signs of being a warrior and having courage? And step 2, you're going to discuss with your partner how you think these scenes connect to our quote. And lastly, independently, you're going to explain your connection to the quote. So you're filling in this graphic organizer. So now look through the book. You're going to look for this evidence of Melba or another character showing courage. So any other scenes here that we can think of?
When Melba was getting thrown with paper flames, she decided to fight back, but throwing books instead of by fist, so she could protect herself.
Right there, where Link is trying to help her, giving her the keys to get out in his car. You have the same one. Look, another one is where she's in that bathroom and they're throwing toilet paper at her on fire.
The key Common Core piece in this lesson is actually having the students go back to the text and find the supporting evidence. From the first unit till the very last unit, that's what we're going to be building upon. Going on to our 4th unit now, they also have to defend it. And later when we get into evaluating, they will still need evidence. All right, I would love to hear your ideas. While I was walking around to the different tables, many of you picked different scenes of Melba showing courage. What I'd like you to do is share out the actual quote that you found from the text and then your explanation. So first, the quote. Daniel?
I put, suddenly I felt a sting of a hand slapping the side of my cheek and the warming, slimy saliva on my face dropping to the collar of my blouse. I put, it connects to the quote because she does not fight back and she kept on walking. She didn't say nothing back to the children.
How does that exactly show courage?
Because if another child gets smacked and spit in the face, their natural instinct is to fight back because she knows the consequences. She chooses not to fight back.
Excellent, and that's what I want you to add in the guided note sheet, okay?
I had a quote on page 149. All we saw was her wavering, and though she were trying to balance herself, when her tray went flying, chili spilled all over the 2 boys. This quote shows Minnie Jean, one of the 9 students, was brave enough to fight back, and she had the courage to fight back.
Okay, she had the courage to fight back. Excellent.
Even if that boy Link got me later for stealing his car, I was alive and on my way for now. I put that this connects to the scene because Melba had a hard time trusting Link because of his skin color, and she thought she was going to do something bad to her, but she didn't care a lot that she was still alive.
Wow, it did take courage for Melba. She had to open up and actually trust Link. So that also takes courage. Bradley?
I got from page 121 to 123, around there, It said, near the end of the day, I was walking down a dimly lit hallway with Danny following when I spotted a boy who put a shiny black object in my face and burned my eyes. And this quote shows that even though she almost could have became blind, she still went back to school. She had the courage to still go back, even though, like, they kept doing mean things to her.
Excellent. So it shows some resiliency. She was determined to go back to school, and that shows courage. Excellent. And I liked how you had a little debate there at your table. Someone said, no, that doesn't show courage. It just shows that she got attacked. But Bradley made a good point by saying, well, even though she got attacked, she still had the courage to go back to school. All right, so we have to wrap up now. You guys did an excellent job. So they might not want to grow up and be an English teacher or a writer, but in any field they choose to go into, they're going to need evidence. So as a doctor, before you give a diagnosis, you're going to need evidence of what the disease or symptom might be. If you want to be a lawyer, you're going to need evidence to back up your case. So I tell them that evidence and those details are important, and that's what we need to back up our ideas. No one's going to listen to you if you don't have support, and that support is what's going to strengthen their argument, whatever it might be.